Formula One is racing in every civilized continent except in Africa. But in the last century, there was a Grand Prix event in the African continent as well. It was the South African Grand Prix, which was held exactly 30 years ago for the last time in 1993. Recently, attention has been given towards holding the event again, as most people believe that there should be a space for an event from Africa in the F1 calendar. Lewis Hamilton is the main force who supports this idea, and he frequently directs the attention of the media towards the South African Grand Prix. There was a discussion to enter the South African Grand Prix into the 2024 calendar by omitting one of the events in the current schedule, but last week it was announced that the South African Grand Prix will not be featured in the 2024 calendar. Through this video, we are going to explore the historical background behind the South African Grand Prix. But before we proceed, hit the subscribe button and smash the bell icon for more exciting updates. The first ever South African Grand Prix was held at the Prince George Circuit at East London, Cape Province in 1934, with the participation of top-class drivers from Europe as well. However, the Second World War brought an end to this initial Grand Prix event, and it was not held again till 1960. Then it became a permanent fixture of the Formula One calendar until it was suspended in 1985 due to the national policy of apartheid. South Africa was banned not only from Formula One, but also from different types of sports till the early 90s. And even though it returned to the Formula One calendar in 1992, it was not continued after 1993 because of financial difficulties faced by the race organisers. As we mentioned earlier, the first event was held at the East London circuit, and it was used till 1966 by the race organisers to hold the Grand Prix event. Actually, this one was a 24.4-kilometre long road course, which ran through different populated areas of the coastal city of East London, and it was known by the name Prince George Circuit. 2 years later, the race length was reduced to 17.7 kilometres by the race organisers. When the event was returned to racing after World War II, a permanent circuit was introduced to the event, and it retained the same old name of Prince George Circuit. The first ever World Championship F1 race in South Africa was held on the 29th of December 1962, and it was won by the legendary F1 driver Graham Hill, thanks to Jim Clark's mechanical failure. So, the newly built Prince George Circuit was part of the F1 calendar in the 1963 and 1965 seasons. However, the 1966 race was demoted to non-championship status with the new 3-litre formula. So, in the following season, the race in South Africa was moved to a newly built circuit in the high-altitude inland city of Johannesburg, which is famous as Kyalami. This circuit was used by the race organisers till the last Grand Prix event on South African soil. This fast Kyalami circuit was built in the early 1960s and used in F1 racing for the first time in 1967. The first event at Kyalami was won by the Mexican driver Pedro Rodriguez, after the race leader John Love experienced a fuel problem. Then the next events were won by Jim Clark, Jackie Stewart, Jack Brabham and Mario Andretti respectively. One of the black spots in the South African Grand Prix history is the death of American F1 driver Peter Revson by a crash at Barbecue Bend during testing for the 1974 race. However, that event was won by the Argentine racer Carlos Reutemann. Finally, the event was won by a home racer with the race victory of Jody Scheckter in the 1975 season. But one of the most awful crashes in F1 history happened when F1 driver Tom Pryce hit the track marshal Janssen van Vuren at full speed, bringing the death to both of them. This event, which sent a shockwave throughout the industry, was won by Niki Lauda. The 1978 event was won by Ronnie Peterson after stealing the victory from both Patrick Depailler and Riccardo Patrese at the last moment of the race. The rain produced some bad conditions for racing in the following year, and it was won by the Canadian F1 driver Gilles Villeneuve. Kyalami circuit, which is located at a high altitude, acted friendly for the turbocharged engines in the 1980s after the introduction of such engines to the sport. Normally, a turbocharged engine has a horsepower advantage of 150 HP over the normally aspirated engines in that era. However, the 1981 event was not held as it became a victim of the FISA-FOCA war. Renault F1 team dominated both the races in 1980 and 1982, and the Frenchman Alain Prost won the 1982 event despite losing one wheel around mid-distance of the race. In 1983, the final race of the season was held at Kyalami, and it was a three-way battle between Alain Prost, Nelson Piquet, and René Arnoux for the championship. Both Prost and Arnoux experienced an engine problem, and Piquet clinched the 1983 championship very easily by finishing the race as third. The 1984 event was held early in the season, and it was won by Niki Lauda, who had won the event previously. And that was the end of racing in South Africa for a long period, as the African nation was subjected to international sanctions because of apartheid. But the 1985 event was held despite the boycotting by some countries and teams, and it was won by Alain Prost, who clinched the world title in the previous year. A few days after the 1985 event, the FIA president Jean-Marie Balestre announced that the event would not return to the South African nation because of apartheid. After solving the apartheid problem in 1991, Formula 1 returned back to Kyalami in 1992, and that event was easily won by Nigel Mansell. However, there was a tense battle between Prost, Senna, and Schumacher for the victory of the 1993 race. Finally, Prost added one more victory to his name on this Kyalami circuit. In July 1993, the Kyalami circuit was sold to the South African Automobile Association, and the management thought that organising an F1 event was costly and it didn't fit with their budgets. So, race organisers never showed an interest towards an F1 event, and just like that, Formula 1 did not return to the African continent again in 30 years. The first discussion was opened in 2018 to bring back Formula 1 to Kyalami with the support of many parties involved in the sport. The idea never came to reality over a period of 5 years, despite there being a possibility to include the event to the 2024 calendar. However, that idea was also rejected, and the FIA declared that the South African government's stance on the Russian invasion of Ukraine was the main reason behind it. Do you think that the South African Grand Prix would return to the F1 calendar before Hamilton retires? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel to get more exciting Formula 1 news. See you in the next video, guys. Goodbye.